Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Wilderness Wargaming. Tonight we're going to look at yet more information from Games Workshop on 10th edition. Specifically, we're going to take a look at the Ballistus Dreadnought. Its new data sheet is out, as well as the Infernus Squad, two of my top picks from the box set that's coming out at launch. So let's get right into it. Ballistus Dreadnought has a top stat line of movement 8 inches, toughness 10, save 2 up, 12 wounds, 6 up leadership, and objective control 4. If we look down at the weapons, he's got a ballistus missile launcher with either frag or crack missiles available, a ballistus las cannon, and twin storm bolters in the hull, and has armored feet for melee weapons. If we get into this in a little more detail, movement I believe is about the same. Toughness gone up to 10, which is generally going to be comparable with what we expect for the new edition. The armor save has gone to 2 up. There is still no invulnerable save on here, but that's going to give a little more protection, and I would venture to guess that we can expect this to be the case for the Brutalis and the regular Redemptor Dreadnought as well. 12 wounds is about the same. 6 up leadership is going to be not bad. It puts him on the better side of the bell curve there. And objective control 4 is fairly strong for a single model, I believe. I venture to guess. It probably conforms with the fact that he's a walker and not a regular vehicle. As far as the weapons go, both of the bigger guns, the missile launcher and the las cannon, have 48-inch range. We're looking at 2d6 shots for the fragmentary warheads and 2 shots for the crack, as well as 2 shots for the ballistus las cannon, all of them hitting on 3+ ballistic skill. Frag has gone up to 5 strength, crack has gone up to 10, and the las cannon is at a 12, which is pretty impressive. Frag is 0 AP, crack missiles are -2, las cannon is -3, and damage is 1 for the frag, d6 for the crack, and d6 plus 1 for the las cannon. Storm bolter is just pretty much as it is now, nothing different. 2 attacks, 3 up ballistic skill, 4 strength, 0 AP, and 1 damage. Now, what's interesting here, I think, are the improvements in the strength of all the weapons, which are kind of going along with the toughness. So it's putting a lot of vehicles in the wounding on a 4 or a 5 range. You're going to have a spread in there. For example, I think all of these would wound a rhino on a 3, and then the crack missile would wound, say, a gladiator on a 4, but the las cannon on a 3. And then if we went up to a repulsor, which we understand is going to be probably toughness 12, that's now you're moving the las cannon up to a 4 and the crack missiles alone in a 5. I don't know what the toughness range is going to be for other things, but I think that gives us kind of an idea of where the performance is going to be. As far as right now, a las cannon would wound all of those vehicles on a 3, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the las cannon also isn't really changed too much in terms of AP. It gets +1 to damage, which doesn't really change its swinginess, but does give it a little bit of a boost. Crack, I believe, has gone down 1 in AP. And overall, this is pretty consistent. What is also interesting to note is, despite the fact that the las cannon is a twin weapon, it isn't listed as twin-linked. It's listed as a single weapon, the ballistus las cannon, which apparently is 2 of them, and it gets 2 shots. So if they don't want to twin link something, this is how they'll get around it. They'll call it that type of weapon and then give it a new name. I'm not sure. I think that's probably going to make that a little bit stronger than it would be with the wound reroll. But I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, no, it would, because it's mathematically increasing your average damage by 100%. So, yeah, it's definitely stronger than twin linked. Okay. Moving on to the melee weapons, the armored feet, 5 attacks, weapon skill 3 up, strength 7, AP 0, damage 1. So this is not expected to be a melee unit. This is a long-ranged dreadnought for support. But the melee weapons are not all that bad. The AP, no AP is going to hurt it a little bit, but it is at least not out there flapping in the breeze with only some pitiful number of attacks. 5 attacks is still pretty good. Oh, I forgot. Let's go back and talk about the storm bolters real quick. These are rapid fire 2, and it is twin linked. So this is not 2 storm bolters. It is a twin storm bolter. So the thing is it has 2 attacks, but it's also rapid fire too. So up close it's going to shoot 4 times, and it's going to reroll wounds. You're not having to think of it as 2 different storm bolters. It's all one weapon now. Okay, going on to the administrative information here. Vehicle, Walker, Imperium, Ballistus Dreadnought for keywords, and of course Adeptus Astartes. Abilities Deadly Demise. Now that's the explosion rule for vehicles, a D3, so no real big change there. It has that Oath of Moment rule that the Space Marines have, and the Ballista Strikes. Every time this model makes a range attack that targets unit is not below half strength, you can reroll hits. So you can, when an enemy unit is still reasonably strong, you can reroll hits. I guess that's because it's an easier target as opposed to just shooting at scattered remnants. That's an interesting one, though. You got to remember that, because that one is one that, unlike the things that work well against half units, you don't have to worry about just wiping the squad and having the ability almost never come up. It's good when you're first dealing with them. And finally, damaged, 1 to 4 wounds remaining. While this model has 1 to 4 wounds remaining, each time this model makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So that's what's going to take the place of bracketing. You're at -1 to hit once you hit 4 wounds remaining. So overall, how do we feel about this? I'd say this is pretty good. It's definitely not gonna blow your socks off, but in terms of being something new and spectacular, but it is a solid package, I think, overall. The improvement of the save to 2+, I think, is absolutely appropriate for Dreadnoughts. I think probably they all should be at that, especially if they're not going to have invulns. The toughness of 10 also seems appropriate. I do not see the -1 damage on here. I guess that's going to go the way of the Dodo. Dreadnoughts are not going to have that inherent 1 damage reduction, so that is kind of a loss. That's going to kind of balance out the increased armor save a little bit, or maybe more than balance it out. Having the Oath of Moment helps a lot with a unit like this. These weapons are pretty darn good. The 2-shot las cannon, that's really solid. That's as good as the Twin Link now. Higher strength, which means it's going to be even more devastating against things that are not vehicles and a lower toughness, because you're wounding on 2s very consistently. Anything all the way up, so even to say Eldar Viper jet bikes are, I believe, are toughness 6. Could be mistaken about that. Pretty sure they are, though. But at any rate, anything that is toughness 6 now is going to be wounded onto 2. I think there's some Drukhari vehicles in that category as well. I want to say Raiders are. Although we are expecting most vehicles to go up in toughness, so maybe not. But at any rate, also improving the crack missile to 2 shots and the frag missile to 2d6. I think the frag missile may be a hidden gem here. Getting an average of 7 shots rather than an average of 3.5, that makes this a lot more appealing. That's going to be, I think, quite useful. Even without the AP, that's going to be something that's going to do work against 1 wound infantry. I think that's going to really be a plus. But overall, there's nothing here that is like, oh man, this thing's going to be just impossible to deal with or just ridiculous. There is some concern, I know, about the effects of Oath of Moment, but that's common to all Space Marines. It's not unique to the Dreadnought. So, yeah, I like him. But he's not going to convince me to buy the box. It's too much to deal with just to get this Dreadnought and then get rid of a whole bunch of Tyranids. And moving on to the Infernus Squad. So these guys are very typical Space Marine infantry. Movement 6 inches, toughness 4, 3 up save, 2 wounds, leadership 6, plus objective control 1, which is per model. They're armed with a bolt pistol, which is not really a change from its current form. 1 attack, 3 up, ballistic skill, 4 strength, 0 AP, 1 damage. And of course it has the pistol keyword, which probably means you can shoot it in close combat still. And the Pyroblaster ignores cover and torrent. So I don't recall. I don't know that I know exactly what torrent does yet. But I think we can probably figure it out. It has something to do with it. Probably does not need to roll a hit roll. That's probably the key word for not needing to roll a hit roll, because it has ballistic skill not applicable. D6 attacks for that thing, and my prediction in the Leviathan box set turned out to be mostly correct. It's up to strength 5, like in a Ministorum Flamer is +1 strength. So this thing is better strength than a regular flamer. It's as good as a heavy flamer, even though it is not a heavy weapon. Damage 1. It doesn't have any AP, but I expect that that's gonna the general drop in AP. That's not surprising. And of course, they have the typical close combat weapon. 3 attacks, weapon skill 3, strength 4, 0, damage 1. 3 attacks does baked right in, means that even Marines that are just close combat weapon Marines are going to roll enough dice to at least do something most of the time. Keywords of infantry, grenades. I don't know that we know what grenades are going to do exactly yet. Imperium, Tacticus, not sure about that one. And of course, Infernus Squads. Adeptus Astartes faction keyword. They have Oath of Moment, and they have something called Purge the Foe. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, you can select one infantry unit hit by one or more of these attacks made with a Pyreblaster. That enemy must take a battle shock test. Okay, so how's this whole package look? It's hard to say. I don't know how these are going to stack up against aggressors. Now, I don't fully know how the new detachments are going to be constructed yet, so they may be in a different part of the detachment, different role. They may be just significantly cheaper in points. They are slightly faster. We can say that. Almost certainly less durable because they're not Gravis armored. They're not Gravis armored, and I don't see the aggressor's baseline stats changing all that much. So I guess it will be really a question of where you fit them in and what the relative points costs are. I'm pretty sure that every kind of flame weapon is going to have torrents, so you're going to see those on the aggressors as well. And this is the kind of thing with all these new Marine releases that bugs me just slightly is there are already so many types of Space Marine units. I mean, there are so many. There are, I don't even know how many there are that people barely play at all. When you get, say, a Gladiator kit, you get parts in there for 3 different tanks. And while in that particular case, you can easily make it kind of snap together so you can use one to be all 3. I'd say at least one of them is probably of little use, and one is kind of questionable, at least right now. So I don't know that we were just craving more Space Marine releases. I would have liked to see release effort go into something else, but these guys are not that bad either. And the weapons do look good. When I talked about the models in the other video, I do like the way they look a lot. I'm just not sure that they're not yet another unit that is trying to compete with an existing unit that essentially does a very similar thing. The one thing I think that might be a little bit different is the Purge the Foe here. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, you can select one enemy infantry unit hit by one or more of these attacks made with a Pyreblaster. That enemy must take a battle shock test. Now, that could be the determining factor, other than points cost, which of course we don't know yet. Will everybody that has flame weapons do something like that? I'm gonna guess maybe not. I'm gonna guess not for now, just because that's how I can see them differentiating themselves a little bit. If Battle Shock does turn out to be as important as I think many people are hoping it will be, as an improvement on the old morale rules, then these guys might be the different as just a little bit more mobile. The ones that get in there and lay down fire on something critical and basically debuff it, even if they don't kill it, in order to take the pressure off somewhere else. I could see that potentially being what they do. I do hope that they are unique enough from aggressors that there's not a whole lot of overlap for them. Even for me as a Salamanders player, I'm all about the flame units, but I've already got aggressors, and I'm hopeful that these won't be just another model that would sit there on the shelf while the aggressors do everything. Thanks for listening, folks. Please remember to like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know if I've missed anything or if I made a mistake on any of these rules. If not, just leave a pound Valkyrie for our pooch. She'd really like it. And click the notifications bell for more great content from Wilderness Wargaming, and I'll see you all again very soon.